Hey everyone, it's Justin here with Voices for Voices. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the show. Without you, we wouldn't have a show. Thanks for the demand, bringing us across the world and over 1,000 countries, uh, uh, over 100 countries and 1,000 cities. I know I had something mixed up, but it all goes together. It just goes to show that we're reaching a lot of people. And one of our prior guests that you probably will recognize, whether you are watching or listening, Brittany Jones, she is back with us for this episode. We're getting a little bit closer to election time. If you don't remember, or even if you do, she is running for the governorship of the state of Oregon here in the United States. And again, we welcome candidates from uh, both sides of the aisle, libertarian, and anything in between. And Brady's taken advantage of it, and we are happy to bring her to you again. So thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be back.
Absolutely. So let's jump into some of the questions that we had put together. Just looking for at the beginning, in your opinion, uh, how have things in Oregon been doing under the current administration since we talked? Uh, I. I I understand that you wouldn't be running for the office that you are if things were going, in your opinion, the way in ways that you see in your eyes. So maybe we can get started there.
Yeah, well, to put it bluntly, I don't think they're living up to the expectations of what's needed. They're not doing everything they can do to protect the people of the state. And, Portland's on national news with ICE and the protests, and two people were shot by ICE in Portland. And it's escalating here after Minnesota's escalation, and the governor is that we currently have is too busy, texting Donald Trump and increasing our fees and our taxes, and only getting in front of the camera about ICE when it diverts attention away from the fees and the taxes. And
Oh,
so, yeah, the leadership is not protecting our communities the way they should be, taking a stand and protecting them.
yeah, that's it. That it's a big shame. It seems like uh, people are, on one side or the other when it comes to that, and sometimes forget to take a step back and realize they're a human being, and there's human beings that are having uh, different consequences due to certain actions or inactions of the current administration. One of those we had spoken about on our prior show was that I-5 corridor, how that is when we talk about human trafficking and other nefarious acts, is I-5 still kind of uh, the highway that's the same way that you remember it just a few short months ago, or is the current administration taking any steps?
So, to my knowledge, they haven't taken any steps, and unfortunately, all the attention is on ICE now. So it's like everybody's reporting on ICE that, ICE is going down I-5 or 126 or 99, and the human trafficking outside of like the MMIW awareness has kind of been pushed under the rug.
Mm.
But I did meet with a prison abolitionist, and we did have a conversation about how if I am elected governor, that I want to pardon certain crimes or certain prisoners, like the victims of sex trafficking that were convicted of sex crimes when they were actually victims. And when I say that I like pardoning sex crime, it's not, pardoning a pedophile and letting them out. It's specifically the victims that should never have been incarcerated in the first place, that were forced into that work. And they just need a place, they needed help, not punishment. And so I'm going to take that approach in that regard while we are trying to figure out what to do with the human trafficking issue, at least at the state level.
Yeah, and I guess I know a little bit firsthand. I don't quite remember the exact timing of when we last spoke, but we're as an organization and a mutual acquaintance, we are on what you just spoke about of having somebody who was sex trafficked, labor trafficked, and the traffickers are coming after us for trying to help the individual who was trafficked. And that is unfortunately not only in Oregon, but across the United States. It's very disheartening when their traffickers are the ones literally going after the people they traffic for the same things that they did. So just like you said, it's literally to just like flip the switch and say, "Oh, we didn't do this. You're the one that did it to me." And so for our viewers and our listeners, this is a very, very real across the United States. This isn't, and I know we're speaking specifically about Oregon tonight. But across the United States, there's a lot of organizations, there's a lot of power that is on the side of the actual uh, uh, what you mentioned, the the pedophiles, the individuals that are committing these crimes, and it's like you said, to be able to have any type of a law that would let this happen, no matter where in the United States. So uh, definitely hear what you're saying there because it is a big problem. And until right people get into office, like yourself, and you're able to execute your platform, it doesn't seem like there's an end in sight. Uh, I guess I'm just curious, when did you like first learn about this type of activity that was going on? Is this years or months, or can you just maybe share for the viewers and listeners who might not be quite so sure about or haven't heard about this yet?
Well, I first learned about the sex trafficking and the human trafficking on the I-5 corridor years ago. I was an actor and just on a small production out here called The Chop Box, and it never got produced. They actually lost the footage for it because their hard drive crashed, and
Mm.
um, in the and it was a horror movie that they were making, and there was a monster in the movie, but all the references were to bring attention to human trafficking. So that's when I first became aware of it. And then when I started doing more research, and as a single parent, and CPS had been called on me too at one point, and I learned that they're like illegal trafficking for children. They take them out of perfectly good homes, they put them into other homes, and the more children they have in their system, the more money they get from the state. And it's a for-profit system where they take children from their homes, and that contributes to the human trafficking as these children age up and out of the system, nowhere to go, because literally when they turn 18 they're like, okay, bye, and they put them out.
Mm.
So all of this is all interconnected, and it's one of those things. I've been a part of a Facebook group called Fix/Fight CPS because the entire organization needs to be completely redone so that it doesn't create new victims.
Very true. Thank you for sharing that so succinctly. Since the last time we talked, have there been any modifications to your platform that have come up, or is it very similar?
Well, with the escalation by ICE in our communities, my platform has shifted because while we could talk about the housing issues and the education issues and the connectivity with connecting small towns to bigger cities and helping the economy, nobody feels safe going to work. Nobody feels like children don't feel safe going to school. They don't feel safe having community gatherings. And so, a huge part of my platform, as soon as I get into office, would be to launch a full criminal investigation into ICE conduct, at least individually against the agents within the state of Oregon. Because the supremacy clause does not protect somebody if they overstep the bounds of their authority and if the state and federal laws don't conflict with each other. And theft of personal property, overstepping your authority, like detaining citizens, which ICE does not have the authority to do, and torturing while they're in their custody, that's illegal on the federal and state level. So criminal charges could absolutely be pressed against individual agents. And while that's going on, we'll be launching a lawsuit to recover some of the losses that these people have been through because Indigenous activists are out there screaming for help and they're being completely ignored. And so they need, like, the community out here needs a leader that's not going to hide in their office or pretend to care when they want to pass tax hikes. Meanwhile, they're texting Donald Trump.
Yeah, yeah. It's oh, it just boggles the mind, and this is a good lead into the next question. The indigenous people, as we know, and as I found out even more from our conversation prior, they're incredibly resilient. Uh, do they feel good knowing, who you are, what you stand for in your run for the governorship, for being the candidate to support?
So just like last time, I can't speak for everybody. I can't speak for all Indigenous communities. All I can say is that since the last time we spoke, my relative in the Potawatomi tribe, he was the historian for over 23 years. He gave me his personal endorsement for governor. He supports what I'm doing out here, and I was very honored to receive that. I actually cried a little bit because it's like, yay, my family claims me. And then out here, I can say that the people that I work directly with, they support what I'm doing. And whether they personally, like publicly or privately want to support that, that's up to them. And I'm okay with either. I don't have a requirement for my friends and family to be publicly vocal about their support for me. I'm just grateful for the guidance and the mentorship that I'm able to get from the people that I work with and for.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, definitely. We can't force individuals how they want to share that, and so yeah, some public, private, and other means. Uh, let's maybe head back to just for a moment to the human trafficking prosecution. I know last time we spoke, I believe that one of the things, it, not only about the pardoning of the individuals who were, wrongly convicted, for being the people being taken, as far as taking that next step in the prosecution of the individuals who had and maybe currently still are trafficking, as far as the penalties go, I guess is what I'm getting at, where there's some states uh, that I think California is one of those ones where I don't even know if it's like a misdemeanor or it's it just it it boggles my mind that there's even a that we even have to talk about this topic. But I think that as we were talking previously, that were we talking about making that a death penalty eligible if certain criteria were met?
Well, see, the thing is there's so many people against the death penalty. My personal opinion is if they're a child predator and they're hurting children, I'm all for it. As long as there's concrete evidence that it happened, it's not a false accusation for revenge. That power, though, to change the legislation that way lies with your state representatives, your
Oh,
House, your Senate. The governor cannot even introduce legislation to the floor to be voted on. So that, like, I could go to a representative or, a senator and be like, "Hey, I wrote this bill or I would like this to be pushed. Can you introduce it to the floor so you guys could work on it?" And they could say yes, but then they could leave it on their desk and it could never see the light of day again. So it's not under the governor's office to create new laws. However, under the governor's office, there is the enforcement of the laws. And I
hmm.
am a strong believer in no longer giving predators a slap on the wrist and allowing them to go right back out onto the streets to offend again. And so I would definitely support harsher penalties and enforce those for those that are convicted.
And I don't know this. Are judges in Oregon, are they elected or are they appointed, or does it depend?
I believe they're elected. I've
Okay.
never ran for office, but I think they're elected because they're down in Drain, Oregon. There was a judge, but then nobody apparently ran for that position again, and now they just haven't had a judge for years
Oh.
in there. And then so the little courthouse they had down there closed down. So I guess I think they're elected throughout the state, but I could be wrong.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was just curious because it, it seems like every jurisdiction is a little bit different. So I was just curious on that. Uh, and we kind of talked about this, but maybe we can just lay out and what are your, kind of day one. And I think we talked maybe about like, maybe like first 90 days or maybe your first 6 months of, uh, how when they think of Brittany Jones for governor of Oregon, what do you want people, voters, citizens, what do you want them to think about when they're going to the ballot box?
In the beginning of my campaign, I wanted to start with one of my platforms being to make Oregon safe. And my team was like, well, then people are going to think that Oregon's not safe. That do you want the outside perception to be that our state's not safe? And I think it's beyond time to say the quiet part out loud is Oregon is not safe. Nowhere is safe with a dictator in office. And we have to have leadership in place that's willing to recognize that and take steps to make it safe. So, day one is when I'm going to start the criminal investigation into ICE. Day one is when I'm going to start the lawsuit for the violation of human rights. Day one is when I'm going to start doing a full budget review of all of our departments because anytime you take a stand against ICE, you risk losing federal funding. So we need to make sure that our state has the stability needed to be able to take a stand and to be safe. And that's like my day one priorities is to get those started and to really focus on that so that we can work on our housing plan. We can work, excuse me, so we can work on our housing plan, work on our education plan and our infrastructure plan for transportation, fixing the highways and the rail system, connecting the small towns to the big cities. But we need to make sure that we have a safety net in place to be able to do that. So when people are going to the ballot, And if they're not sure who they're going to vote for, I want to let everybody know that I will fight tooth and nail to make Oregonians safe. And so if you're feeling not safe and you're like, who will fight for us? Who will stand with us? Vote Brittany Jones because I will do that.
Awesome. Yeah. And and it's so refreshing how transparent you are with exactly with what you're sharing. You mean what you say, and yeah, you're not being shy about it. And I think some individuals running for office or in office, uh, they have ways of like skirting around like the truth, or they skirting around the answer that they want to give because it just comes back to a talking point that you have real concrete specific things that you want to do and implement day one, and you want a departure of the past on quite a few of those, and that should be a breath of fresh air to Oregonians to say, wow, like we didn't know if we would have an opportunity to have a candidate that would come through and actually want to do that, because it's kind of like that saying, if you do the same thing over and over, it's crazy or what, but it gets you not very far. It gets you into the same place you're at, like same place you're standing or sitting or walking. You don't have much room to wiggle, and so for you to have that experience also for Oregonians, that you also ran for the presidency. In an earlier term, so you're not a let's say this isn't your first rodeo, I guess is the way to put it. So you have your mindset and know what information you need to share, how you need to share it, taking those opportunities. So I assume that you're going to spend more time behind the desk than in front of the camera, if you're able to. I know you want to get out and see a lot of things, but talking about how your current governor is, texting, President Trump and doing that, you want to get down to the business of, okay, like you said with the budget, like what's every single line, what does it mean, and where's that money going, and where has it been going, and just going through that, it makes me it's almost like feel like I run a marathon, like thinking about it, because there's so many different lines to the budget, and to really get to the bottom, in my mind, I could see you, not you, but a person in office say, "Well, what's this mean?" Like, "Oh no, don't worry about that. That's just, that goes and I don't know, this particular area." And I can see you going, "No, no, no, no. Like, what does this mean?" And something that I can understand, so I can decide if you need that money. It could be directed elsewhere, or having a balanced budget isn't always a bad thing to have, especially the way the overspending goes. But it's really refreshing. Again, I said it, I think, on our last show as well. Now. We're in January of 26. When is the election for the governorship? Is that in November, or is it a special election and a different?
Because I'm running as part of a party, we have the primaries in May. So I am challenging the incumbent. So May 19th is when people can cast their vote for me to help me beat out Tina Kotek. And then if I beat Tina Kotek, then I'd be on the ballot for the general election. against a Republican and other party candidates that are not Democrats. So the primary just pretty much chooses which Democrat they're going to put forward. And so I need help beating Tina because she's an establishment politician. She has a lot of big money behind her. Unions are already saying that they're going to endorse her without even interviewing other candidates and without letting their members vote on who to endorse. And so we are seeing establishment politics at play where a grassroots candidate is going against the big guy. So if you like an underdog story and you want to help the underdog win, I need your vote in May, and you have to be registered as a Democrat by April to be able to vote. I forget what date specifically in April, but at least by the beginning of April, if you are registered as a Democrat, you can fill in the bubble next to my name on the ballot on the 19th.
Okay. Yeah, so this is definitely crucial timing to let people know that there's a primary, and then even ahead of that that there's a registration process that has to be completed in order for that individual to be able to actually put in their vote in May to then be able to run the general election. So wow. It's uh, I'm sure you're used to, but it's a lot of different things you gotta besides your platform have to go against, and as you mentioned with an establishment candidate as well, where like the money just seems to come from all over the place. It's like, oh my gosh, like how does this happen? Uh, wow. And let me see. So let's just, when would you go into office? I'm just thinking from like a budget like standpoint of, okay, so people they register, they vote primary, they vote for B. Jones, they vote for you in the general election. Do you go in office in November, or is it like a January thing like the presidency? Just curious.
I think we would swear into office in January because I think that's, sorry, my daughter's getting chipped.
Okay.
I think we would go into office in January, just like the presidency. I will have to double check that though, because I was reading about it a little bit ago and I was like, oh, that makes sense because, let them finish out their term.
Okay. Okay. Uh, what else did I miss? To be able to share. I believe you have a website, right? That would you let people know what that is and what information they can find?
So I have a link tree because our website, we're using Wix, so it's a free website, but it's
Oh,
a really long URL. So, but I have a link tree. So I do have a website, I have a Facebook, I have a TikTok, I have an Instagram, and we have a Signal chat for volunteers. We have Axe Blue for donations. We're working on merchandise and yard signs, and we have some really cool logos that we're going to be putting out. But the link tree has the link to our website, it has a link to volunteer or sign up for our newsletter, it has a donation link. And then our website, you actually have the ability to find the TikTok, which is actually just BJ for Oregon.
okay.
And then the Facebook is Jones for Governor 2026.
Okay.
Jones for Oregon Governor. It's a longer one. So is the Instagram. But you can also just Google Brittany Jones for Governor of Oregon and Ballotpedia will pop up, Wikipedia will pop up, and it's so my information is out there.
Okay. The uh so somebody decides I want to donate towards your campaign. Is that from a are they able to write that off on their taxes? The only reason I'm asking is because there's a lot of charities, a lot of nonprofits out there. I didn't know when you get into the political sphere if somebody decides to to donate if that's something that or if it's just not that it matters either way. I'm just curious that there might be somebody out there listening or watching thinking like, oh wow, like I wonder if I could write this off on my taxes. I know I know it's not the biggest question and the biggest deal, but never know.
I have heard there is like a tax credit or something like that if you donate to political campaigns, but I'm not 100% sure. So that's
Okay.
something you have to ask your tax person. Hey, if I donate to this campaign, is that a tax write-off? Do I get a deduction for it or a credit for it? I think that's always something you should check if you're not sure.
If if you were to say to the viewers and listeners, what's the besides the voting aspect, because that's huge. That's what moves the process along and moves you along in the in the cycle. Uh, what would be like the number one thing if somebody's already registered to vote, if they've already kind of made up their mind or they're following what your media presence, what would be like the number like one and two things you would want somebody to look at in your link tree?
In my what was that last part? Sorry.
Oh, in your link tree, like if they were on your
Oh,
link
my
tree
LinkedIn.
with, yeah, what would you want them to like guide them to do? Like if they're already registered to vote and they're just kind of like, all right, what can I do between now and May for the campaign?
I would say the volunteer link and the donation link because we need both of those. I need people to help canvassing. Like we got the voter registration list from Lane County and it's 122,000 people. And only 22,000 of them have phone numbers on there. So we literally have to go house to house to house and talk to people. So I need volunteers, canvassing volunteers, people who do DoorDash that are willing to put my cards with the orders they drop off, because that helps me reach people. And there's a lot of ways that you can help a grassroots campaign spread. We still need a campaign manager. I'm still doing the majority of the work with my PR manager. So
Hmm.
we need a campaign manager and my website needs a huge overhaul. So volunteers, we definitely need and we need donations because unions look at donations and how much money you've raised as a deciding factor if they endorse you or not because they want you to raise money. And I'm like, well, don't they realize that if they endorse you, they help you raise money, so they should look at your policies and not on how much money you've raised. So
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
kind of a catch 22 there. So donations and volunteers, that's what we need.
Okay. And a campaign manager, if somebody wants to help out in a larger way day to day and help direct. So would that be like social media as well, or I guess how would what would be like maybe like a duty or two that you would want a campaign manager to do?
So campaign managers oversee the entire campaign. They help set up the interviews. They work closely with the PR. They make sure that you don't miss opportunities. So like if Tina Kotek is given 30 seconds on the news, then your campaign manager would be like, "Hey, I claim time for my candidate too. She gets 30 seconds as well," or you have to talk about her for 30 seconds. So the campaign manager really organizes the campaign so that the candidate can be the candidate and focus on going out there and meeting people and just getting the message out there.
What's your reception when you do the knocking on doors or you're meeting people and you're listening to what they're sharing? What how's that go as far as the reason why I'm asking, I did a we did a show the other day and about my market research class, and we had this project where it was I think it was for the United Way, and the project was like you said, every student got a list, and you had to. And this was in the early 2000s, and you would have to call and ask them interview or yeah, I guess like interview questions and trying to get more information for the organization. And so I just remember that. And so when you talked about canvassing with dashers and going door to door, what's been kind of like the feedback of like, oh, I didn't know you were running. I didn't know there was somebody that had a platform with these issues on there? Just curious.
So we haven't started canvassing door to door yet. We're still organizing because the voter information from the state was very disorganized. So we have to
Oh,
organize it by neighborhood and try to figure out the best map and the route to go. And we don't have the personnel, like the number of people to be able to go out there and knock on doors. I have started a texting campaign for the ones who had phone numbers.
uh,
And so far I've seen an uptick in the visits to the website. We haven't had any new donations yet, but whenever I go out to protests or speaking in events, like I was at the town hall yesterday with Jeff Merkley and Val Hoyle, and just being there, you're able to talk to people, and so I'm able to meet people, hand out my cards. A lot of them, almost every single person I've talked to at these protests, at the rallies, at meet and greets for other candidates, almost every single one says that Tina needs to go, and they're glad that somebody is running against her. And so it's always been a positive response in those situations.
that's great. And you kind of, word of mouth is always helpful. So to know that they had a conversation with you, and the hopes is, from that grassroots level, that that they're talking to their family members or their friend groups, and letting them know, maybe putting out a social media message, like positive ones, because we could you could use those more now. Uh, what else did I miss? That missed that you'd like to share? We got about a minute or so left, if you like.
I am also a member of Courage Candidates now. So, Courage
Okay.
Candidates, or they actually support the impeachment process. So, primarily, they have congressional candidates, but I approached them. I was like, I support impeachment. I just heard about you guys. You guys sound amazing. So, we had an interview and they brought me on board. So, I am one of their candidates. And once I get my statement and headshot and all that to them, then I'll be, I'll get their endorsement publicly. And it's we have a meeting every Monday, and it's great connecting to other candidates nationwide
Okay.
who have the same from multiple different parties that just support the accountability aspect that's lacking in our government today. And it's like, because it's not just impeachment for Donald Trump, it's impeachment for any elected official, regardless of party, that's abusing their power and not working for the people anymore.
Absolutely. And there's so much learning that I've gotten from our conversation that I know it's going to be helpful for our viewers and listeners as well, on different processes, and that sometimes there can be misconceptions one way or the other, or all over the place. So to have just that information, and have a candidate like yourself just being so down to earth, and sharing it, that you're not just repeating the talking points. It's like, again, the grassroots, like, we want to get things done once we get into office, but we need some help. And so donations, uh volunteers, campaign manager, link tree. So how is it link tree, and then there's a slash, and then is it just Brittany for or BJ for governor, or how would they be able to find you on Linktree?
So if you actually, the link tree is on my TikTok. So if you just look up
Oh,
BJ for Oregon on TikTok, and it's in the bio, and I think it's on my Facebook too. But I can send it to you as well if you would
okay.
like. But I try to include it in a lot of the stuff in my text messaging campaign. I include it at the end of my text messages so that everybody has access to it. And I'll be adding more links to it. Like I'm going to put my Instagram link on there, the Facebook link, make sure everything is just all in one spot so people can just go follow me, especially with TikTok changing hands, what, this month
I
at
think
some
so.
point?
Yeah.
Yeah. So things are going to change. And so I just want to make sure that all my socials are on there so that we can make sure that we don't lose followers in the transition.
Absolutely. Well, Brittany, thank you so much for joining us again on the show, and we'd be happy to have you back if you'd like as we get closer to May. So don't be a stranger. Have your team reach out. We'd be more than happy to have you on as we get closer. Kind of share how the process is going, the updates, and we just appreciate you just being a really not only a voice for yourself, but you're being a voice for Oregonians and in general, just human beings, really, just looking at people as humans and how you can best help. And I at the core, we're human beings. So then we can go all different ways after that. But at the core, we're a human. And I really respect you for coming on, sharing as much information, and I look forward to having you on again if that plays into your schedule down the road. Don't be a stranger. We can find time to get you scheduled and any updates or there's a specific topic that you want to share or specific event, we can do that as well. So thank you, Brittany.
And thank you for having me on again. And I would love to be on again. It's always a pleasure.
Oh, thank you. And we thank you, our viewers, our listeners, wherever you may be here in the United States, across the world, especially in the United States and the state of Oregon. Brittany Jones, BJ for Governor 2026. If you're an Oregonian and you aren't registered to vote, make sure that you do your due diligence and get that done by April. Just maybe get it done in March and then you don't have to worry about April. And then definitely make sure that you fill in the bubble for Democrat and then go in the primary voting in May said May 19th, was it? Okay. So May 19th, and then once that process, the votes are tallied, and BJ comes out hopefully on top, then that will take us to the general election in November. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. If you could do us a big favor and share this episode and like, follow, subscribe, check out Brittany BJ for governor on TikTok. We'll be inserting her link tree in our description, but head on over to TikTok while you're watching or listening, and because I know we all like to have numerous windows open, so head on over to TikTok, get that link tree. If you want to volunteer, go ahead, and if you want to donate. There's always help, and if campaign manager has been something you've always wanted to do in the state of Oregon, and you love what you're hearing from BJ, she and her team would love to hear from you. And so until next time, this is Justin Allen Hayes with Voices for Voices, and we pray that you will be a voice for you or somebody else in need. We'll see you next time, everybody. Thank you.